It's Monday, the 23rd of July, 2012, and in this Boardroom Talk special podcast, Wayne Samson, Chief Executive of Ellies, is back in our studio. I say back because on the 18th of June, the financial results or the trading update came out from Ellies, which said that the company would be producing between 68 and 78% better headline earnings a share. Share price jumped 10% on that day, and it's been doing pretty well ever since. Wayne, you're getting your shares are now getting to a level that makes me terribly depressed, because if you remember 2 years ago in our share competition here at MoneyWeb, yours was the stock that I went for. It was $2 back then. It's now R5.40. Is this improvement in the share price in the past year a coming together of a whole lot of plans, or was it surprised you too?
I think it's a coming together of a whole lot of plans. I always thought we were slightly undervalued, or not slightly, quite a bit undervalued, and I think possibly we had to prove our own track record and have a track record in the market. We were fledglings, only having listed in September 2007. And I think we built up a consistency of showing good results.
You know what is interesting, though? You're very diversified. A manufacturer, a wholesaler, importer, distributor in consumer goods, renewable energy, power and telecoms infrastructure. Goes against the grain of business science, which says focus.
It might be the actual what business should be, is diversified, and don't get me wrong, I don't want to compare ourselves, but if you have a look, a lot of successful companies, Bidvest, the likes thereof, are all diversified companies. And maybe that's possibly our buffer in a bad economy, is that you're not reliant on one sector or one product. You've got a diverse range of products and offerings that help you get a balance to your business.
You've been with the company since 1989. When you started off there and the way that it's developed, Ellies is well known for being an installer of satellite dishes, DSTV. What took you away, not because you're still in that business, but what helped you to branch into other areas?
It wasn't instantaneous, but I think we've learned to think outside the box. Try and sit down and have a look, where do we believe economies are going, where do we believe business is changing and moving. And I think that's part and parcel of our success, is that we're not stuck in a rut saying this is what we do and that's the only thing we're going to do. We try and have a look and say, well, where would we be in 10 years' time? What will business look like? And it's not only with us going infrastructural electronics to energy-saving electronics and renewable energy, but it's a matter of having a look at television even and saying, where's it going to be in 10 years' time? And we've got to acknowledge that there's going to be a convergence, and if you don't acknowledge that, well, you're going to be left behind down the line.
So you started learning from the satellite TV area,
yeah,
and then you moved into other possibilities. You talk about infrastructure electronics. What exactly is that?
Well, we started off, Megatron was a manufacturer of mini substations, medium voltage control, switchgear, control panels, and Megatron itself has branched out. We manufacture transformers. They've gone into energy-saving electronics. In other words, we've gone into telecoms, for want of an argument. We now have got a patented design called DGO, diesel generator optimization.
Which means what?
In telecoms, there are a lot of transmitters around Africa that run on diesel generators 24/7. Now, a diesel generator, a reliable prime source diesel generator, is a 15 kilowatt generator. Your telecoms tower only uses 3, so 12 kilowatts are going to waste. We designed a system where you pump the 12 kilowatts into specifically designed General Electric batteries, store that energy. Then when the battery is full, turns the generator off, and four-fifths of the time you're running on your batteries, and then when it goes down to a certain level, turns the generator back on.
So it's innovating all the time, looking for gaps in the market, new opportunities.
100%. It's breaking the mold of saying, okay, infrastructural electronics is infrastructural electronics, and that's the end of it. No, we're saying there are new advances, there are new ways of doing it, and let's come up with innovative ways of saving electricity and saving companies a rand at the end of the day by saving diesel, paying your electricity bills.
Who do you compete with?
We compete with many companies in many different areas. So in the likes of TV and satellite, we have the Spaces and Sammegs and AMAPs of the world. In infrastructural electronics, the Alstoms, and a whole array of different companies. So it depends on which sector. And I think possibly that's where our success has been. We encourage competition. In fact, it keeps us on our toes. And the fact that you've got all these different business sectors with different competitors, it makes you observe what the opposition is doing and making sure you don't get complacent.
But you must make mistakes.
We do make mistakes. And we try and learn by our mistakes. We've always had a philosophy. First of all, if you don't bat, you're not going to hit sixes, referring to the cricket. But you've got to know that if you're going to try 10 things and 4 or 5 come off properly, you're actually on a good wicket.
So when do you know to cut?
You have a look. If something, when you start the project, you give it a time frame or an investment value. And if you hit that value and things aren't happening or there isn't promise at the end of the day, you've got to accept that you failed in it and cut it short.
So you give yourself a very specified, almost a scientific approach towards new projects that you go into.
Sure. We try different areas and different fields that are innovative. Some are going to be accepted by business and public and others aren't.
It is interesting because in the context of these current set of financial results, which are spectacular for the year to end April, your profit margins up from 12% to 16%, pre-tax profits up 73%, and. One area, though, where you have deviated a little from the past is you've been prepared to go into debt, and a lot of debt, as far as Ellies is concerned. And your cash flow, your working capital, has been under a lot of pressure, and you've had to bring a lot more money into the business just to keep these new projects going. And I ask that in the context of when do you cut?
You've got a limit to what different projects are going. And I think when you asked me, it was in July or not so long ago, what new businesses are going, and I said we're going to actually consolidate of what we've got at the moment before we go on to the next project. Because yes, it does eat cash flow, but you're not going to grow a business by 75% by not using cash flow. At the moment, we're fortunate in South Africa, the interest rates are the lowest they've ever been. So it's far better going to the bank for cash than going to shareholders on an issue. Our cash flow wasn't ideal at the year end. It has improved substantially. One of the projects ate up, or quite a few of the projects ate up quite a bit of cash. The one that we know about is Eskom. If you have a look to our year-end figures, we are only a third of the way through the project, and that required tremendous amount of stocking. And obviously, you have a new big debtor being Eskom, where at year-end they owed us approximately 120 million. Since year-end, that whole 120 million has been paid, so it is a paying government parastatal. And that's how you've got to go through the cycles. But, if we didn't initially stock up with the lighting and the CFLs and go into lighting the way we did in October, November, there's no ways we would have actually got the contract. So it's if you're not willing to invest and go 100% behind a project, well, you're not going to get anywhere. And sometimes it is going to require cash.
The Eskom project we've spoken about on this program a few times in the past, but it is interesting that you're only a third of the way through. How profitable has it been for you?
It's been very good because, in a way, it wasn't a new business. The Eskom Phase 1 rollout suited us because it went back to our core competencies, which is the installer base. So we trained, I think it was 3,449 installation companies on a new business. We taught them about lighting and installation of lighting and geyser timers. So we created a fortune of employment.
And these are guys who were installing satellite dishes in the
correct.
past.
Mm-hmm. And so we gave them new skills, but at the same time, we just leveraged off our existing installer base, our existing computer systems, core competencies. And so the more you put onto those core competencies, the lower your cost is. And that's what we're trying to focus on now, is trying to find different avenues where we can apply our competencies to.
Those 3,400, are those people who work for you?
No. We support small SMMEs. So we support and subcontract to these small installation companies, which the vast majority are black-owned companies. In fact, there's a fair amount of women-owned companies, and over 10% of them belong to the youth, black youth. So we're very much a part of the drive for employment in the country and try and make sustainable businesses for these small companies to grow with.
So you've been able to take an idea that Eskom has to change globes and other inefficient energy sources to make them more efficient, and to use that by engaging with small businesses to make it happen.
Correct. So it's a kind of a win-win situation. It's good for the country, reducing energy off the grid. We took over 170 megawatts off the grid.
Now, how big is that? What does it mean, 170 megawatts?
I'm not a great one when it comes to that, but from what I heard, a smelter uses around about 40 megawatts. So you're in the line of about 4 smelters that you're able to supply power to. So it is quite significant.
And you're only a third of the way through.
Well, we've now basically ended the project now, and so we've completed the other 2/3 in this new year. And phase 2's been announced, and we're hoping that we'll be a part of the phase 2.
And it'll be the same way, getting small business or giving small businesses the opportunity to go in and help the country become more energy efficient.
Yeah, looking at the phase 2 project, the route to market's slightly different. The installers just don't go out and call on the existing customer base. The customer's got to make an application and apply to us, and then we allocate an installer out. But at the end of the day, we are still going to be supporting small SMMEs and giving these installation businesses more work to do.
Well, and from an investor's perspective, as I say, I was a little early on the Ellies train, but those who've been with you for the past year have seen a fantastic return. Is it now getting to a stage where you as a CEO are worried that perhaps the market's rating of your stock is a little over the top?
No, not at all. It's going to seem strange coming off a 75% growth, but we're very confident and very bullish for the future and for this next year. Megatron's got a fantastic order book. Things aren't slowing down there. Ellies, please God, we get phase 2, and don't forget about DTT. Yes, we have spoken about it for a while, but it's going to happen, and that's going to be cherry on the top as well.
The DTT, digital television.
Yes, digital terrestrial.
How does that work?
Well, the majority of the population still watch from their TV aerial, your SABC 1, 2, and 3, and ETV. That will now have to go through a set-top box, and at least 50% of the aerials would need to be changed. Ellies is the largest manufacturer in the country. We've got about a 70% market share in TV antennas. And then we've got an agreement with Altec UEC, where we're the sole distributors of their set-top boxes to the retail market. So we're one of the few companies, if not the only company, that's got an end-to-end solution for digital terrestrial. And with that, we've invested. Our new aerial manufacturing plant should be finished by the end of the month or midway into August. And we've invested into raw material, so when it does turn on, we're not having to have a knee-jerk reaction. We'll be prepared for this launch.
And when is it going to turn on?
We're still hoping that we'll see the launch by the end of this year, if not then the beginning of next year. But with the volumes that we're talking about, you need to be really prepared. If you have a look at DSTV, in 17 years, there's 3 million subscribers. And with DTT, they're looking at 10 million households to convert before 2015.
Wayne Samson, Chief Executive of Ellies.